Today's mission is to wire up a shed, except that shed is floating out in the middle of the sea with no electricity running to it. It should be an interesting one. Welcome to ØY Electrical. Let's get into it.
Okay, there you go.
Here's our friend Chester. We like to work offshore with Chester because Chester is our mate.
And when we work with Chester, he drinks it down in 8.
Let me show you the problem that we're having here, okay? Can you see that? Not my cool dance moves. How much this pontoon is moving. That's because this is floating. Now, right now, we happen to be here on a beautiful, calm, still day, but when I came and quoted this job, waves were swinging this whole thing around. I was on my hands and knees crawling like the half a kilometre or whatever it is back to shore. It means there's no electrical supply out here. The only option we have is to go off-grid. That little shed right there is going to be completely off-grid. We should play a game. I do it, you have to copy it. Oh, that's much harder than what... Oh! Hold it.
Yep.
For the right amount of seconds.
You're using your head though.
That's why I got us the beanies. That's not even close. Tip, tuck, and finish. You've ripped your trousers. Not bad.
How big of a hole have I got in there?
Quite sizable.
Quite a hole.
The roof. If we go up on the roof, we could probably fit, if we measure, and run that side. So it's 4 meters. They only need power for lighting, really, and occasionally trickle charging boats.
Here's an idea. Rather than using the roof, or in addition to using the roof, can we use maybe the walls or some other aspect?
We could, for sure. The sea is right there though. The actual practical installation of that will be tricky, but I don't see why we can't. No, if we was to fix 3 panels on the roof here, and maybe an additional 3 panels along the back, we'd get then the morning sunrise and we'd have the all-day sunlight on the roof.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
No, when there's a will, there's a suspicious trip to the Canary Islands that no one returns from.
Very good.
All right then, I reckon we see if we can hire a boat, we can park it up behind the shed.
Park it behind.
And mount up those 3 solar panels off of the boat.
Where are we going to find a boat around here?
Now, in terms of generation, we have 2 options readily available to us: solar and wind. My last experience with micro wind turbines wasn't exactly ideal, and wind is going to be tricky here as there's no solid place to get a good anchor for a meaningfully high mast. With solar, we're also quite limited on the aspect and surface area that's going to be available to us, meaning we're going to have to make use of as much space as possible on the shed, and we're going to need to have something to store all of that energy in. So very recently, I installed an Anker Solix X1. It was a bog standard, normal on-grid system, and yeah, it worked wonderfully. I didn't make a video of it, but it was super easy. The customer loved it. And one of the key selling points was that 1, it's able to run off-grid, and 2, it has a very high level of resistance against corrosion from salt water. So I thought I'd try my luck and see if Anker would come on board with the video. So I've installed one of the Anker Solixes recently. I've noticed you've got the C5 rating, so it's more corrosion resistant than anything else I can find in this category. But reading your documentation, it says I've got to stay 300 meters away from the sea. This is probably more like 60 centimeters away from the sea. How would you feel about me doing that install? Would you be happy to sign off on it, basically?
No way, like not at all. It's just too much of a risk for us.
Okay, all right, no worries. Well, it was worth asking, wasn't it?
One place we could maybe go, this right here could be our battery location, but we'll have a little think about it and come to that later. For those of you that are wondering how we've earthed this thing, the whiteboard is out. Keep watching, we'll get to it later.
Inside the shed, Chester was busy at work installing lighting and small power. All of this is running through a beautifully crafted conduit system. Meanwhile, back on shore, I had a logistics problem on my hands.
There's going to be a lot of stuff to get by hand down that massive carriageway. I think I was a little bit optimistic when I bought that with me.
Fortunately for us, there's a lot of heavy equipment on this site, so we were able to borrow a forklift and a boat to shift everything over there via the water. Looking less like James Bond and more like his out-of-breath stunt double with a mustache that screamed quarter-life crisis, we hit the water to complete our totally not suspicious delivery.
Get everything off. There's no way we're getting all of this down that gangway. So the battery that we've decided to go for is still the Anchor.
Now, the scholars among us might have noticed that this is the very battery system that we were encouraged not to use. But you know, I feel like it was a little bit ambiguous in his answer on whether or not we should or should not use the battery here.
No way, like, not at all.
But there are reasons why I wanted to use this battery in the first place. This is not a sales pitch, but let me tell you some of them. This battery is a stackable solution. So it comes in these 5 kilowatt hour segments. So you can start anywhere from 5 kilowatt hours all the way up to 180 kilowatt hours of storage. You can also stack up to 72 kilowatts of inverters, meaning if the customer wants to expand this system, he can easily do that.
How do you measure what's level when the whole world that you're working on is doing this? So it's just slightly to that side.
If you're on grid, it has a less than 10 millisecond changeover, so that's pretty cool. But if you're off grid, you get 105% of the rated power of the inverter. It works anywhere from minus 20 degrees Celsius all the way up to 55 degrees Celsius. And to be honest with you, I think it looks pretty blimming nice. It's only 15 centimeters deep and it just stacks and plugs in together so easily.
I'm poking this cable up with our conduit here. I'm going to start this end because this is the most vicious bend of all. I'm going to get through to my through box. I don't have a fish tape on me. If only I had a fish tape. I'm back. Do you want to give it a little tippy tappy? You know the trick. That's it. It'd be awesome if we had singles here, wouldn't it? Look, it's so hot. Look at the thermals. Go on, Sonny. Ooh, yeah. I designed it so beautifully. This is why, when people watch it, say, well, they're doing 45s, because T&E cable smooshes down there so much nicer. How did you do it? Is he there? Now go on, tug along. Whoa, whoa, man. Yes.
So to end the day, I just had to plug the batteries in and get ready for a big day tomorrow.
Good morning, back for another day. These are the rails that we're going to be using. So these are going to be mounted up onto this roof. So these are Clenergy mini rails, I believe. Let's get this drone in the air quickly.
We have no camera lady today, so just to add to the challenges of the job,
Easier said than done when I'm doing the literal splits.
this camera footage is all going to be brought to you by our collective bad decisions.
My drone's trying to return to base. Do not do that. Where it took off is now just water.
Pray our tripod doesn't fall over.
Balancing the camera on a pontoon.
Before we can get any panels on, we need to get the rails in place. So we start that by laying out. We want to make sure that all of these clamps and all of these rails fall within the clamping zones of the panel and that they've got a good secure fixing down into the roof and also up into the panel.
All right, I'm just going to screw these things down.
So the mini rails we've used are fixed down using CT1 and then are screwed through that CT1 with rubber backed washers into the wood below. Once all of the rails were on, time to mount the panels.
If you chuck the panels up to me, I'll start fixing them. I'll show you something that was quite good here. It's because of this little parapet. There, see that? That means that these panels sit completely flush with the horizon. So my worry here was, even though we've CT1'd and screwed these down, that wind uplift, because the wind off of the channel here goes crazy, but actually the wind shouldn't touch underneath these panels at all. So,
As you can see, we've only got space for 3 panels here, which is not a lot of generation. They're 440 watt panels, so that's about 1200-ish watts of generation.
lovely stuff.
We're going to need more, which takes us to...
Hello guys, welcome aboard my boat. I wonder how many people have installed solar onto a building off-grid, floating on a boat. I don't think there's going to be that many. I specifically grew this, by the way, because I knew we'd be doing like seaside stuff. Let me show you possibly the coolest tool that Milwaukee make. This is their silicon gun. It's the M12 PCG. Chester said, why have you got that? This is why I've got that. So easy, I just ran out of silicon on that thing. Absolutely love it.
It's falling.
I'm gonna put double the amount of fixings on here and some long bolts to go through.
So we can fit 3 more panels here on the back. Now, of course, they're not facing the sky. However, I'm not hoping to just get the sunrise in the morning. I'm also hoping to get all of the reflection off of the water. These panels are bifacial, which means they can generate power not just from the top, but also when ambient light bleeds through, bounces off, all of that light is going to generate power. If you want to find out more, by the way, about any of the kit that's been supplied in today's episode, you need to go and speak to Calidus Wholesale, because they supplied everything. They're my go-to for this type of thing.
Let's sit it on the deck.
Yeah. Are you going to try and get them level or something?
Well, even just rest it on the deck, because that's
takes
taking
off a
some
lot
of the
of weight, doesn't
Let's
it?
do that. Yeah. I have a feeling we're too far that way.
From the edge, it's 300.
Yeah, because we moved these in a bit more. I think just move them to the end of the screws. Yeah, to the right a bit.
To the right, to the right.
Think about there.
There, babe. You got it?
Why is it not pushing back?
Go your way a little bit more. To do the bottom
Just
one
the floor's
first.
not exactly level. Yeah, I'd let it sit on the floor. There you go.
Top one's okay.
Oh, that's miles out.
So far out.
So this really did turn out to be much more of a faff than what we both thought it was going to be.
Come on, baby! Oh! Ah! Now my fingers are stuck.
When we tried lining the panels up with the deck, it just didn't work. It looked terrible. The panels are all different heights and off square.
Higher or lower?
Tiny bit higher, tiny bit lower, tiny bit higher.
The second problem was we were on a bobbing round boat off of a pontoon, which was also bobbing and moving with the waves and the wind.
It's gone down.
It's gone down. Oh my gosh.
What we ended up having to do was stand back and just look.
Whoosh. Oh, that was close.
Just use our eyes and go with what looked right, because ultimately they're the panels that everyone is going to be seeing when they drive past on their boat. So this is going to be the token, really, of our workmanship.
Woo-wee! That was something, that was.
Panels are on and done. Temperature has dropped massively, but
All in one conduit trick.
oh, nice.
Like that.
Looks
Don't
like
teach
it
you that at
grew there.
college. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bends in one piece.
No problem. Easy for you, mate.
Call me the conduit king.
So it is time to get this thing connected up. We want to be able to remotely monitor this system and access all of the data from shore. So what we've got is this little 4G dongle. So I believe this is the first one in Europe, but if you've not got reliable internet connection, then this is an option for you. So plug in the 4G dongle and Bob's your uncle. Basically, you should be able to monitor, access everything from shore as long as you've got a phone signal out here, which we do. So we're good to go.
All that's left to do is plug the panels in on the roof. However,
If you told me to walk on a little path like that, ordinarily on land, I'd be like, no problem.
I did not pack my swimming trunks today, nor do I have a spare pair of clothes with me, so I'm having to be very careful not to take a tumble into the sea and become food for the local swan.
Oish. You're just waiting for me to fall off. I know it.
Wow. Happy with that, pumpkin.
Okay, so as promised, here is the section on earthing. So, how did we earth this pontoon? I'm going to start by explaining a little bit of the science behind why we've chosen to do what we've chosen to do. So, this right here is a typical earth fault loop cycle. Everyone on here that's been to college or done their test and inspection qualifications will be very, very familiar with that. I'll tell you why. When you're doing your ZS, okay, or your ZE or your R1 plus R2, all these different tests, we are working off of this model. This side of things is the grid side. That's known as our ZE, or our external impedance. Everything back to the supply transformer, back to the property. We're testing the resistance of that. And then we have our R1 plus R2. R1 plus R2 is everything from the consumer unit out to an appliance or a plug or a light fitting or whatever it is, back again down our CPC. So our line conductor, our live conductor there, becomes R1. Our return path, our circuit protective conductor, becomes R2. So we're very familiar with these tests. The sum of both of these together, or ZS, is equal to our ZE plus R1 plus R2. Now, why do you think matey here is going to get a shock? He is cooking some lovely toast. Oh, look at him, he's smiling. He's got a cap on. Let's call him James. There's a fault. James over here is touching it with his squiggly wiggly arms. Shouldn't be a problem, right? Except it is a problem because he is standing on the ground with his big size 12 feet. So he is connected to the mass of Earth, which means the electricity will go like this, down the line, down this, through his body, oh no, down into the floor, because he's connected to the mass of Earth. That will then travel through the resistance of the Earth, blah, 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 back. You have your Earth fault loop cycle. We are very familiar with that because we want to make sure that, you know, we achieve disconnection times, blah, 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 blah. When you're on a pontoon, it's slightly different. Let me redraw this. These are meant to be power lines. Why do you think when you see a bird sitting there on top of the power lines, why is he not smoking and getting absolutely zapped? Because he's not connected to Earth. Electricity only becomes a circuit, you only become part of that circuit when there is a return path, when there's a full loop, when there's space for water to flow. If I had a pipe and I run 2 bar of pressure through it that way, but I had 2 bar of pressure flowing the other way, or a cap on the end, you've got potential energy, but you haven't got any flow. You've only got flow when there's a return path, whether that be via a neutral conductor, or whether that be you standing on the mass of Earth and becoming part of that fault loop. If you are standing on a pontoon, okay, so let me just draw a pontoon. I'm actually quite impressed with that. Okay, so this is me here standing out on the pontoon. This is James, he survived, he's living to fish another day. What do you reckon we should do? Can we maybe swim down? Do an earth rod? Maybe, is that an idea? No. Think about it, when you're in a bathroom, separated extra low voltage, why do you not get a shock from your shaver socket if you just touch one socket, one side of it? It's because there's no earth, there's no connection, there's no full path. This is the point of supply. There is no connection back to the grid. So if I was to touch here with my squiggly wiggly long arms, a metal part of the boat frame, which by the way, there isn't actually any, but if there was, how on earth is having something connected into the earth there gonna help achieve disconnection times? No, if I want to achieve disconnection times to not get zapped from my electricity, I need something else. I'll show you what that is. I need RCD protection. So an RCD, a lot of the time there's the misnomer that we need an earth for an RCD to work. That is not how an RCD works. The basic premise of an RCD, if you imagine you have a current clamp with your cables passing through it, your line and your neutral. If you were to take a current clamp reading of those cables, go do it now. Put a current clamp around your line and your neutral tails. The reading should be 0 amps because there should be no imbalance between those two. Line and neutral should be nothing. If you have more, let's just say for a 30 milliamp RCD, 30 milliamps of imbalance between these 2 points, then it will trip, it will cut the circuit. So it actually has no need for an earth. There's nothing to do with earthing within that arrangement. So what we have done is we have used no earth and we've opted to use RCDs. So there is no earth in this system. We've run an earth out back to the consumer unit, back to the different points to bond everything together. But in terms of physical earthing back to shore, in terms of earth rods, there isn't any. I hope that answers it. Sorry that it was so frantic. I'm in a big rush today. Enjoy the rest of the video. Right, lovely. Let's get this thing plugged in and see if we can figure out how to commission it. I've never commissioned one of these before, but I have heard very good things that they're incredibly easy. So there's the little MPPT ports on the side. There's the MPPT ports there and a DC isolator built in. So there's 2 MPPTs on this, so there's 2 trackers, which is very nice. And that one, that one, that one. Oh, all right then. So now that they're all plugged in, I'll start the commissioning process. It's on. I just switched the camera, and as I plugged the MC4 strings in and turned the isolator, it's just come on. I wasn't expecting that. I'm figuring this out on the fly. It's the first one of these that I've installed, but that looks absolutely gorgeous. I wish you could see this display properly, but it's like a matte finish. That is nice, isn't it?
I think it's very nice.
This thing is commissioned, it's ready to power it on. I've never commissioned something that quick and easy. I've got to say, it's incredible. And just in terms of looks, that cable entry, fantastic. Cable entry here, fantastic. It's so well thought out. This is a bit scary. Okay, shall we go inside and see what happens? Jester, are you ready?
Yeah.
Go on, ready?
So lovely in here. This is my new home.
That is so nice. We had a mission, we had an idea, we didn't know if it would sink or if it would float, but we are well and truly off-grid. We've got the system commissioned up and running, it's absolutely beautiful. Anchor Solix X1 supplied by Calidus Wholesale. Fantastic, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget, like, subscribe, see you next time.
Tune in next week for another awesome episode. See what I did there?
Pontoon in.
In case you're still wondering what we did about placing the battery so close to the sea, so we have Nathan with us. Nathan is an absolute legend and he has custom built us a GRP enclosure which is also insulated. It's going to be sealed and watertight. That is going to be protecting the battery just so that it's got an extra layer of protection on top of what's already built into it, so it really is more of a bulletproof install. As with all of these things, just check the manual and speak to the manufacturer or your wholesaler directly if you're ever unsure about anything like this. This video is purely for entertainment purposes. Do not copy what we're doing here.
See, I'm not even like that normally. People say
Pontoon in.
I have ADHD, but I don't. It's
Pontooning in.
Pontoon in, you see?
can pontoon in.
Pontoon in next week.
Yeah, no, I think just
I'm not
leave it.
even doing videos weekly anymore. Such an idiot.